All right, to explore China's beer market further, let's bring in Stephen Beaumont, joining us from Toronto. He's the co-author of the book, The World Atlas of Beer, and he's also the author of Beer and Food Companion. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, Chinese consumers have been drinking less beer, though, over the last 2 years, and that trend is expected to continue for the next 5 years, according to BMI research. What's driving that shift?
Well, basically, it's a number of factors that are all coming together. One is a change in the way that the Chinese are drinking beer. And this just mirrors what we've seen happening in countries all around the world. Drinking less, but going up in terms of quality, so drinking better. And what that does is it starts to carve out that middle niche of the beer market, and that begins to fall, while the premium side, which is much, much smaller, goes up at a much faster rate. But still, the market size being so small, it's not having that same offsetting effect.
Now, it's certainly a different story for Chinese craft beer. That's the beer made in these smaller batches by smaller breweries. Why are we seeing an interesting growth there?
The same reason it's happening everywhere else. There's a premiumization, I hate that word, but there you have it. There's a premiumization of beverages all around the world. It goes to wine, it goes to spirits, it goes to beer. And I think especially so with beer. We've seen this happening in North America, South America, Western Europe. It's starting to happen in Eastern Europe now, and we're starting to see it in Asia as well.
In terms of the demographics, what sort of consumers tend to really drive this market?
It's the young consumer. I mean, the bulk of the beer market are still your lower drinking age to 30, 35 age group. However, that age group is now used to the idea of drinking better beer. And this is what's really changing the face of the marketplace. When I was that age, there was no such thing as craft beer or microbrewery beer. And just as it came out, it was something strange and new and interesting. But now people are growing up and they've had that type of beer around their whole lives. So it's much easier for them to segue from a regular mainstream beer into something craft.
Now, what about the manufacturers? What will all this mean then for the big traditional players in the beer industry?
I think this is going to be very interesting over the next few years. I see two things happening in China in particular. One is that the big companies, China Resources and Tsingtao, are going to start looking for acquisitions outside of China. So we're going to see them go into this whole consolidation game that's been going on in the world for the last little while. And then you're also going to see brewers like Anheuser-Busch InBev and Heineken, Carlsberg, maybe Molson Coors, trying to get into China in a way that is meaningful. And what I mean by that is they don't want to just buy a 20% stake in a brewery. They want to have that stake, but also have a say in how it's run. And traditionally, when the foreign investment has come into China, there hasn't been a lot of say in how things are run in China. Now I think we're going to see that starting to change.
So being that China is the world's largest beer market, clearly it's attractive for people. So if you're a foreign brewer trying to really tap into the taste of Chinese consumers, what are some good tips?
Well, I think the key is now to start going a little premium. The Chinese market, again, that drag from the middle to lower tier is going to continue. That's why we're going to see decreased sales for the next 5 years. But if you go into that premium market where there's a little more profitability to be made, and it's not necessarily just craft beer, but it's imported brands, it's premium domestic brands. And that, I think, is where we're going to see some growth over the next little while.
And on the flip side, what about the potential challenges to the industry's growth?
Well, the biggest challenge is just getting people to drink more. Around the world, people are drinking less. It is a global trend. And when you have people drinking less, you have that drop in consumption all over. And among that drinking less is they're drinking more diversely. So whereas somebody used to make just a beer drinker or just a wine drinker, now people are more inclined to go between categories more. So that starts digging into volumes as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your insights, author Stephen Beaumont.